All right, let's jump right in. If you're an MEP engineer and you're tired of getting stumped by tough technical questions or those vague HR interviews, you are in the right place. Today, we're not just going to go over a few questions, we're unlocking the entire playbook for absolutely owning that interview, from the moment you walk in to the moment they make you an offer. Let's do this.
You know, it all really comes down to this one question. When you're in a room with a bunch of other smart people, how do you make yourself the only choice? Well, it's not about having all the textbook answers memorized. It's about showing them you're a problem solver, that you're a leader in the making, and that's exactly what we're going to show you how to do.
We've built this as a 4-part competency ladder. Think of it as building your skills from the ground up. First, we'll get that big picture view, the entire project universe. Then we're going to dive deep into the technical stuff. After that, we'll see how it all works on a real construction site with a hands-on playbook. And to finish it off, we'll master how to win the conversation. Ready? Let's start climbing.
Okay, first things first. The MEP project universe. Look, the absolute best engineers, they don't just stay in their little silo. They get how everything, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, it all has to work together. This is your foundation. This right here, this project lifecycle, is how interviewers can instantly tell who's a junior engineer versus who's ready for the next level. See, anyone can talk about their specific design task, but a great candidate, they connect the dots. They can explain how a design choice that they made affects the guys on site, how QA/QC is going to check their work, and how it all leads to a happy client at handover. When you talk like this, you're not just an engineer. You're showing them you already think like a manager.
All right, you've got the 30,000-foot view. Let's climb to that next rung, the technical proving ground. This is where we get into the nuts and bolts, the stuff that you're almost guaranteed to be asked about in any MEP interview.
Let's start with HVAC. And trust me, if you get an HVAC question, there is a very good chance it's going to start right here with cooling load. Why? Because literally everything else, the size of your ducts, the equipment you pick, how much energy it's going to use, it all comes from this one single calculation. You have to be able to explain this one cold.
And this shows you exactly how that logic flows. See, it all starts with the cooling load. Once you have that, you can size your ducts. And a huge part of that is figuring out the external static pressure, the ESP. That's just the total resistance the fan has to fight against. You nail the ESP, you can pick the right AHU or fan coil unit. And then finally, you pick your diffusers. See how it's all a chain reaction? One step logically leads to the next.
Now, let's switch gears to plumbing. The magic concept here is fixture units. And this isn't just a definition to spit back. It's the fundamental principle you use to size pretty much every pipe in a building, based on the code, like the IPC or UPC. Getting this right shows them you understand the science and the rules.
Moving on to firefighting. If there's one code you have to know, it's this one. NFPA 13. It is the Bible for fire sprinkler systems. Now, a good interviewer won't just ask, "Do you know NFPA 13?" They'll ask something like, "Tell me about the different hazard classifications." They want to hear you talk about light, ordinary, or extra hazard, because that choice right there dictates the entire design. Knowing this shows you're serious about life safety.
And for electrical low voltage, you've got to lock in these 4 pillars. They are absolutely non-negotiable. 1. Cable sizing, which is all about safety and efficiency. 2. Panel board design. That's the brain of your whole system. 3. Earthing, which is the critical safety feature that protects people from faults. And 4. Insulation resistance testing, which is how you prove your installation is solid. You know these 4, you know your stuff.
Okay, fantastic. You've proven you know the theory. But now for the real test. Can you make it work on a messy, loud, and chaotic construction site? Let's head to the site. This is all about showing you can turn drawings into reality.
On a real project, quality isn't just a feeling, it's a paper trail, and it tells a story. The MAR, Material Approval Request, is where you get approval for what you're going to use. The MIR is for inspecting that material when it shows up. The WIR is for inspecting the work itself after it's installed. And if any of those steps fail, you issue an NCR, a non-conformance report. Knowing these acronyms is like speaking the language of quality.
All right, time for a classic troubleshooting question. The interviewer might say something like, "Hey, your foreman calls you. The big chilled water pump is making a terrible rattling noise. What's your first thought?" That noise is a huge clue. They're testing you on a common problem, pump cavitation.
So a top-tier answer immediately connects the symptoms to the potential causes. You'd say something like, "That noise sounds like rocks in the pump," which is a classic sign of cavitation. The first things I'd check are the usual suspects.
Is the strainer clogged and starving the pump? Is there an air leak in the suction line, or do we have a low NPSH? Basically, not enough pressure to stop the water from boiling inside the pump.
Then, you seal the deal with a clear, methodical action plan. It shows you don't panic. And look at that last step, documentation. You always close the loop by officially recording the problem and what you did to fix it, probably with an NCR. That is what a professional does.
And that brings us to our final section, Part 4. You've got the big picture, you've got the technical smarts, you've got the site experience, but none of it matters if you can't communicate it effectively. This is all about winning the conversation. You are going to get a question like this, I promise. But here's the secret. They're not really asking about your feelings. What they're really testing is your process. They want to know if you have a system to stay in control when everything is going wrong.
So here's the key. The perfect answer is about structure, not stress. Never just say, "Oh, I stay calm." No, instead, you need to explain the system you use to manage chaos. Because the best engineers don't just absorb pressure, they have a framework to dismantle it.
And this is the best framework in the world for doing it. It's the STAR method. It's so simple but so powerful. You briefly set the situation, you define your specific task, you walk them through the step-by-step actions you took, and you wrap it up with a clear, measurable result. Using STAR makes any story you tell sound structured, impressive, and easy to follow.
Now, here is a pro tip. This one little shift can put you ahead of almost everyone else. Stop talking like you're just an engineer and start talking like you're a project manager. Show them you're thinking about the whole project, the money, the schedule, the client, not just your little piece of the puzzle.
The easy way to do this is to sprinkle these concepts into your STAR answers. So instead of just saying, "I fixed a problem," you say something like, "After identifying the risk this posed to the project schedule, I coordinated with the procurement team on a new part and updated key stakeholders on the plan." Wow! In one sentence, you just showed you think about risk, schedule, and communication. That's the kind of thinking they're desperate to hire.
And there you have it. That's the whole playbook. We've climbed the ladder from that big picture view all the way down to troubleshooting on site and right back up to communicating your value like a leader. You have the framework. You have the knowledge. You are absolutely ready.